Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Facts on the Ground. I'm Misty Winston, joined by my co-host, Jesse Zerwell. Today, we have the King of the Red Browns on the show. I'm very excited about this. I get that a lot, too. So, he needs no introduction. You guys know who he is. He is Jimmy fucking Dore. Thanks for coming back on, man. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. You know what? I'm on the wrong internet. Let me switch and see if it doesn't.
If it kicks you, we'll figure it out.
Okay, how's that? Am I back?
Yeah, you're good.
How's that? Was it better? Okay, good.
Yeah, I think so.
All right,
we're good.
well,
thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you. I just got done making fun of Howard Stern on Tucker Carlson.
On Tucker? Howard Stern, what a punk, dude.
What's his deal nowadays?
He's a COVID freak.
Yeah.
He's a COVID freak. He hasn't left. He's triple vaxxed and he won't leave his basement. And it's like, talk about not believing. So when he hates the unvaccinated, he's really, again, that's projection. That's that classic Carl Jung unconscious. So because he doesn't,
I think the world's a better place if Howard Stern stays in his basement.
Maybe
it's because he doesn't trust the vaccine. That's why he then throws out that hatred on other people for not trusting the vaccine. If he trusted it, he wouldn't be staying in his goddamn. Hey, doesn't anybody feel for Howard Stern? He just wants to go outside and feel the breeze through his wig.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trust the science, Jimmy. The science that doesn't work. It's fucking ridiculous. I'm so glad I was listening to your show that you did the other day, and you were talking about that this whole trust the science bullshit. It's garbage. Science is meant to be questioned. It's not meant to be trusted.
Yeah, it's exactly. If it's like, oh, believe in science. No, that's called religion.
Yeah.
You don't have to believe in science. Science gets tested all the time, and it can stand up to scrutiny. And if it can't, then it's not science.
And then you change it. That's the whole point.
Right.
And you only have to make such proclamations when what you're dealing with isn't actually science.
Yes.
That's right. And by the way, now Fauci just said that you can it's like, oh yes, the vaccine we're not going to eradicate this like the smallpox. We're not going to get rid of it like with the measles. Well, what the fuck? That's what you guys were saying for 2 goddamn years.
He said we're going to manage it, Jimmy.
And now he says we're going to what is the word? What control?
Yeah.
Control it. That's what he said. We're going to control it.
Yeah. What does that even mean?
And it's like, so there was always bullshit that vaccines were going to get us out of this pandemic. That was always bullshit. And that's what they made people think. And that's why people hate their neighbors who won't get vaccinated, because they think it's because of them we didn't get rid of the virus, when the virus was never going away. And the vaccine never stopped transmission of the virus. And they fucking knew that from day one. And they've been lying to us and suppressing early treatments and doing way worse shit than that, and smearing any scientist or doctor who had a different idea than what fucking Dr. Fauci has. That's what they've been doing. And so, of course, you've been lied to. Of course, the biggest purveyor of lies is the government first and the corporate media second, not fucking Joe Rogan.
Yeah. Oh, and they're never going to lose their platform. Rachel Maddow will never lose her platform.
She still has that tweet up about that bullshit ivermectin story of people getting poisoned by it, and gunshot victims were standing in line somehow outside during the winter. There, if you get shot by, you stand in line to get into a hospital. That's what. Remember that Rolling Stone article?
Yes.
Yeah. Everybody covered and repeat. Well, she tweeted it out, and she's never taken it down.
Yeah. Well, I don't think she has any respect for so-called flyover states. So.
She has respect for the truth, that's for sure. No. And she has a video out there where she says, if you get the vaccine, it stops the virus. No, it doesn't. And that's why
they're not vaccines. They don't confer immunity whatsoever. They're genetically modified injections.
They're therapeutics. They're not going to stop you from getting COVID. But when you do get COVID, you might not have as bad of a reaction. That's what they are. It's a fucking flu shot.
Technically, they're not even therapeutics, because they offer no therapeutic effect.
Yeah, and they could actually make it worse. They could actually give you.
You know how there's a scam being played is because they never mention things that they should be mentioning.
Yes.
They only mention masks and vaccines. They never mention vitamin D3. That the people who were the most affected by this were people who had very low vitamin D3, which is why the African American community was hit so hard by it at first.
Yeah.
And they never tell people to get their vitamin D3 up. They never tell people to get their vitamin K2 up. They never tell vitamin C. They never tell them about zinc. All these things that you could be taking preventative to get ready to get it. Because guess what? You're gonna fucking get it.
Mhm.
Everyone is gonna get corona, and that's it. You're not gonna not get it. There's nothing you can do to not get this.
Yeah.
So just prepare for it. And they never tell you. Why don't they ever tell you about monoclonals? And why is it after Dana White got them, now you can't get monoclonals anymore? Now they're taking them away from people who want a proven treatment for fucking COVID. They're taking it away. No one's talking about that. And when someone like Dana White does bring it up, a reporter goes, "Are you a doctor?" Dana goes, "You don't have to be a doctor to know that you can't get fucking monoclonals anymore. And this whole thing of now nobody's allowed to have an opinion. That was the same thing. I wasn't allowed to do force the vote because I wasn't an approved
organizer.
I wasn't approved. Where did I come from? I don't know. I thought AOC was a goddamn bartender 2 years ago. Where the fuck she come from?
Right?
Doesn't anybody get to participate in democracy? Doesn't anybody get to have a fucking say? So I've heard people when I was telling them that the risk to children from COVID is less than the risk from the flu, which is a fact.
Mhm.
So kids are not a threat at all from COVID if they don't have cancer or another comorbidity. And people are telling me, "You don't have kids, shut the fuck up."
I do.
That's like
I'll say it.
Why don't you just scream, "I don't have an argument"?
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. That's like saying, "Hey, you're not poor. How could you care about the homeless?" Jimmy, that's what they just say. Jimmy, you have health insurance. Why do you act like you give a shit about Medicare? What the fuck? That's that. Hey, you're not a soldier. Why do you care about the war? It's just that's just admitting you don't have an argument. But that's the things
the only qualifications you need to have a point of view here are the ability to read and observe facts. That's
well, are you human? Because
you don't need a degree.
No. COVID impacts literally every human being on the planet. We should be able to have open conversations about it on a regular basis. Whatever you should be able to ask all of the questions, literally dumb questions, ridiculous questions. This should be something that should be able to be spoken about all day long. You should be able to have conversations. And it's the fact that they're trying so desperately to clamp down on the narrative should be a red flag to fucking everybody. It's insane. It's fucking insane.
Remember when I would have arguments on the Young Turks show with people about banning Alex Jones? I would have screaming matches with the COO of the company on camera, and I was like, "You really think? How dumb do you have to be to think that this is where it ends with Alex Jones? That's just not." There is immediately, if you say anything that goes against their narrative, they're going to come for you next because you all cheered this on. Like, nah. Well, guess what? We went from Alex Jones to the guy who invented the mRNA vaccine technology. Isn't that amazing? Holy shit. That's just a couple of years. So that guy's too dangerous. The scientist is he's a fucking crazy nut, but he has patents on vaccines and he's worked on vaccines and so on. Even that guy's not qualified. That guy we have to censor. So we went from Alex Jones to that guy, then to the president of the United States, to a fucking Kennedy, just to let you know they can do it to anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they should. Speaking of TYT, though, I want to point this out because you won't be able to see who the tweet's from because I'm blocked. So it is what it is. But I just want to let you know that these tweets, I can hear these tweets. When you tweet these, every time I can hear your voice. They're the best. I love these tweets because I don't even know what Jink was talking about there because he's such a dumb fuck. But
Jones, he was screaming about the Democratic Party has to fight for the people and they have to deliver, and if they don't, they're and blah blah blah. It's just like, what do you think that was a whole fucking year ago, Jank? What do you think the best time we could have all united to get them to do something, and half of you guys undermined it, so they didn't do it, and you'll never hold him accountable. He still sells fucking t-shirts with AOC's face on it in his fucking money bag grifting store that he has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he's such a schmuck. Like, I cannot.
He sold a book he still hasn't fucking written. He sold that book a year ago, which is why that's illegal. You can't sell a book you haven't written. You can sell a book you've written that hasn't been printed yet, but you can't that's a pre-order. But he didn't write it, and he's pre-sold it, which is fucking illegal.
Yeah, that's called chanking people.
It is. Yeah. I'm so glad you left TYT. I'm so glad you left TYT. I was waiting for it. It was long overdue. I think you were very patient. And I'm sure that wasn't easy anyway, but I mean, I'm so glad you left. There's such a dumpster fire. It's terrible over there. It always has been. You were honestly the only reason I ever, and I'm not just kissing your ass here. It's real talk. The only reason I ever watched TYT, I was subscribed only so I could watch Aggressive Progressives. That was it. I couldn't stand any of the other shows. It was all terrible. Jink's awful.
As soon as Bernie Sanders, even even a little before that, but as soon as Bernie Sanders capitulated to Hillary Clinton, the Young Turks were done. That was it.
Yeah.
There was no point to them anymore. And they just went barreling towards the center and taking as much corporate cash as they could. And look what they did. They went on they turned on their own fans. 85% of their own fans wanted them to force the vote. That's almost 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
And of their paying members, and they didn't fall for their bullshit.
Yeah, and then they went on their tear with regard to Syria, which they probably can't even find on a map, promoting regime change.
Right.
They had their Brooklyn expert.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was funny. That was funny. I had to get it was almost like, they were trying to troll us or something. Cause that was fucking hilarious to have that guy come on and Anna's like trying to, prop him up as the Syria expert. And he's like, well, actually I live in Brooklyn. This is too great. It's too funny.
And I mean, they've always been right wing and hawkish. Jenk's, Cenk reminds you all the time that he's a natural Republican conservative all the time when he's union busting, or when he was, posting revenge porn on his website for clicks, or
of a teenager,
when he advocates for bombing Syria and Libya and cheers it on, when he says that Donald Trump isn't hawkish enough and isn't bombing enough. I mean, he reminds you a lot that he's a natural Republican conservative. He does.
Yes, he really does.
But now a lot of people who are in the Republican Party are less hawkish than the Democrats.
Yes, I'm glad you bring that up because on the show you did the other day too, you were talking about how people, because I get this all the time, obviously to a much lesser degree than you. But why do you only criticize Democrats? Those are Republicans.
Well, I say I really criticize conservatives.
Yeah,
and that's the Democratic Party. And who told me that the Democrats were a conservative party? AOC.
Yeah.
When she was complaining that we couldn't get a vote on Medicare for all, she goes, up or down? Up or down? We can't even get that. So this is not a democracy. That's what she said.
Yeah.
Here's a good reason to criticize Democrats. Sonia Sotomayor and her complete lack of knowledge of the 10th Amendment in the oral arguments over the mandates for the OSHA
full of
mandates.
Misinformation. Jimmy, you covered this too. That was full.
She said that she couldn't think of any reason why states should be left to police themselves and that the federal government shouldn't have the authority to police the states. That's a complete non-understanding of the 10th Amendment. And she's a Supreme Court justice deciding whether or not people are going to be forced to submit to an experimental injection to keep their jobs.
Yeah.
And the fact that it even got to the Supreme Court in the first place is bad
terrifying.
Enough.
That's terrifying.
Well, see what's also equally terrifying is that she was 100% wrong on the science about COVID, and she got a vote on that. She was 100% wrong on it. Nobody corrected her. And the mainstream news ignored it, and in lieu of doing articles calling Judge Alito an anti-vaxxer because he got the inspector, the attorney, whoever he was questioning, he got them to admit that yes, there's always side effects and adverse reactions to every vaccine, including this one. And so they then said that he's an anti-vax because he said a fact that they don't like. And it's just like, that's I mean, it's what's the old Will Rogers line, or maybe it was Mark Twain. If you don't read newspapers, you're uninformed, but if you do, you're misinformed.
Yes.
So I mean, that's the weird thing about or the super shitty thing about YouTube censorship policies is that that they're against independent news right now, and they're pushing what they consider to be authoritative news sites, which is corporate news. And the whole point of my show is to debunk those things.
Yes.
And to debunk the lies about COVID, and YouTube won't allow me to do it fully. I've done it way more than anybody else. And aren't you shocked to see the lack of pushback from people who have fucking YouTube channels?
Yes.
On Fauci, who's an admitted liar. He had lied at the top of fucking COVID. In February of 2020, they asked him about masks, and he's on 60 Minutes. And they tell him, now everybody's watching, so you got to get this right. And he goes, don't wear masks. They don't help you. It might make you feel better, but it doesn't help you in things with this, blah, blah, blah. And then he completely switched 2 months later, and they asked him, hey, why were you saying the opposite about masks 2 months ago? And he said, oh, I was lying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he said. He said, I was lying then. Why? Because I felt like it, and I know better than fucking you. And if you didn't wear a mask and you got sick and died, well, I guess that's your problem.
Well, as the public face and spokesman of the federal coronavirus task force, or whatever you want to call it, that's his job, is to constantly flip and flop with the narrative to confuse people, to keep them fearful, to keep them anxious, because that is the best way to breed their compliance.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And he does it on purpose.
And they changed the narrative from everybody saying this: if you get the vaccine, we'll get rid of this. We're going to do, and we can stamp it out. You won't get infected, and you won't spread it, and it stops. And all those fucking lies. To now, we're down to, well, everybody's going to get it. You're all going to fucking get it. What?
Stuff that people lost their YouTube channels, or the lab leak theory. That was like, you would lose your channel if you even mentioned it. And now it's like common, like everybody's just talking about it like it's a normal thing.
Same thing with Ivermectin. The same thing with Ivermectin. And then Joe Rogan got CNN's doctor. CNN
that was great.
Rogan, you're like, oh, I bet he's going to really show Joe Rogan about Ivermectin. It turns out Joe Rogan, a guy who announces people fighting in cages for a living, fucking schooled that doctor and got the doctor to admit his network had been lying about Ivermectin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then what does Sanjay Gupta go on to do? He goes on to do a shill piece for Sesame Street to seduce kids into getting this experimental injection. That is disgusting. No doctor who's in good standing should ever even think about doing that. He's a disgrace to the profession.
So you're not supposed to trust your own research. You're not supposed to trust Joe Rogan. You're not supposed to trust podcasts. Who am I supposed to trust? Don Lemon and Big Bird. Okay.
Big Bird. God, that's disgusting. But like, for me, I trust my own doctor. I had this conversation with my doctor, and my doctor told me he doesn't recommend that I get the vaccine. My father had an underlying heart condition that we didn't know about until he passed away. And I've been warned, and the vaccines injections really can have an adverse effect on your heart. And he's like, I don't think it's a good idea. So yeah, I'm listening to my doctor, fuck faces. Like, leave me alone. You know what I'm saying? My doctor's not the right kind of doctor.
That's right. That's right. I was talking about the Barrington Declaration, and these doctors and scientists from Stanford and Yale and Harvard had a different idea on how to attack this virus, different than Fauci and the CDC and the FDA. And they go, oh yeah, well I heard the money for that. Those guys that was announced at a libertarian thing, and I go, oh, so we're only supposed to listen to Democratic doctors? If you're a Democrat, we'll listen to your science. Is that where we're at right now? That's where we're at. And the Democratic Party has become a cult, just like the COVIDian has become a cult.
Yes.
That has a 0.89% fucking hospitalization rate, and we're ruining people's lives. We're ruining children's development over a virus that has 0.89% vaccination. And another thing they never mention is obesity. Hey, I lost a lot of weight during the lockdown. I lost like 30 pounds. And so we have 2 years to lose weight. If you're that afraid of the virus, you'll have time to lose weight. They never tell you to do that. They never tell you 78% of the people who are hospitalized with COVID are obese, that the average death age from COVID is older than the life expectancy. They never tell you any of this shit.
Yep. No,
Or
there's been no conversation about how we can just eat, like, let's make healthy food more readily available and affordable to people, and let's encourage people to get outside and get fresh air and walk around, and there's been no conversation about things that we can do to prevent or treat or any of those things. All that, it's just been stay inside, it's scary out there, and get an injection. That's it. That's their whole plan.
That's
the
their
whole plan.
And we're going to close your place of business, but
Yeah.
we're going to somehow keep open Target, Walmart, Amazon. What the fuck? But I can buy a baseball mitt from Amazon, but I can't buy one from the sporting goods store on my corner.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why is that? If I'm going to walk into that sporting goods store, there's going to be maybe 2 or 3 people in there. If I would order it from Amazon, there's going to be 1,000 people inside of a fucking warehouse
being treated like shit, no less.
But they're open. And this place, so none of it ever made any sense.
No.
And if you push back, they call you an anti-vaxxer.
Well, they changed the definition of that word too.
It does make sense if you look at it from the point of view that this is not in the end about an actual pandemic. It's about a restructuring of the economy on a global scale. And the kind of economy they want is a platform economy, as the German economist Ernst Wolff has put it. And that means we are renters. We own nothing, as the World Economic Forum has said. And we rely on third parties for everything, for every service. And so
they want you completely dependent.
That's why they engineered a controlled demolition of small business economy and made us rely on the platform economy of Amazon, of Costco, because that's where they want to move this. That's where the World Economic Forum with its Great Reset wants to move this. And that's because the central bankers and the Bank of International Settlements above them in the global public-private partnership hierarchy, that's where they want to move this. And they're using the pandemic as a vehicle for doing that. And there never was a pandemic. If you look at all-cause mortality statistics, it never got to the level of pandemic when it comes to the deaths. So,
well, and we don't even have accurate numbers.
Well, I don't see. That's the whole thing. No one knows what the real death
with or from.
No one. And when they ask the CDC director on live television, she obfuscates like a fucking slimy politician or a salesperson, and that's supposed to be a scientist.
Yeah, that's why you look at. But that's why you look at all-cause mortality. So it's not. It's not about did they die from COVID or something else. It's a dead body is a dead body. So you look at the whole count of death, and it never rose to the level of a pandemic. And in fact, you can also look at life insurance claims. Life insurance claims that were taken out during this so-called pandemic, especially at the peaks, they actually went down from their normal levels. You would think during a pandemic, you would see life insurance claims being taken out constantly, right? If people were dying all over the place, they actually went down. They were actually reduced. So we have to look at this as a pseudo pandemic and as a vehicle that's being used.
It's definitely being used
much larger ends. It's not about a public health crisis. It's about re-engineering society and in particular the economy.
Yeah.
Well, the thing, I don't know. All I know is the government is definitely lying.
Yes.
And lying at the top of their lungs and scaremongering everybody. And once they get control, they're never going to let it go.
No.
So once they why are they still pushing for people to get vaccine passports? Why do I still have to show my Vax card to get into a restaurant or do anything in goddamn life if everyone's going to get this? Why then now? So then it does. So the whole idea was, well, if they get vaccinated, we'll get rid of it and we don't have to get it. No, now Fauci and the head of the FDA, they're all admitting what we've been saying on my show for fucking 6 months, that everybody's going to get this virus. So that's why mandates are ridiculous, because everyone's going to fucking get this and everyone is going to get this. So now why do I still have to have a vaccine mandate? Well, the Supreme Court overturned it 6-3. So that's out the window. Starbucks just got rid of their fucking vaccine mandates. So what is this shit still about? We have
that's all temporary though. Don't forget.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the UK is walking back their restrictions too. All of this, it doesn't really matter what you think of the pandemic and whether or not it's, as serious. It really doesn't matter. What is real talk and that you cannot deny is that this is being used to strip away your rights at a rapid pace.
Yes.
And it's really terrifying. And the level of compliance, especially in this country, I mean, we've seen massive protests around the globe, which is really encouraging to see, like the Netherlands and, London and France and, Australia, New Zealand, they're all out there protesting. But in the United States, it's very quiet. It's really depressing.
There's that big anti-mandate
this weekend
on Sunday, which I was invited to, but I can't make it. I wish I could go.
I wish I could go too.
But it's, I think so thank God the Supreme Court voted against these mandates and we can retain a little bit of bodily autonomy. But now what do you say to all those people who they fired in New York State?
Right? Yes.
70,000 healthcare workers got fired because they wouldn't get a vaccine. And for fucking what? Because now everybody's going to get it. How do they not have a fucking court case over that? How do they not have a lawsuit?
I don't mean to rain on the parade, but we shouldn't be too excited about the Supreme Court's ruling because it's only a temporary stay. It's being kicked back down to the district courts.
No, we know. We're just saying that at least for now. I mean, there's been, at least that. But I mean, I've been curious about
the healthcare workers are still subject to the mandate.
So
yeah,
it doesn't make any scientific sense.
No,
I don't know how. I really don't know what the fuck.
I don't. And what I love is that people keep freaking out because the hospitals are so overwhelmed. Well, first of all, we've been defunding and closing down hospitals for like a long time. And so that's the reason why we don't have as many ICU beds as we need, because we've been shutting down rural hospitals all over the country. But not only that, we're in the middle of a pandemic and we're going to fire doctors and nurses. They were on the front lines of this thing. We couldn't even get them proper PPE. Like they couldn't even front lines of this things for 18 months without even like proper masks. And then all of a sudden they don't want to get injected and we're just going to fire them. That makes no sense.
And so now they're sending out masks and tests to everybody. Well, everybody's going to fucking get it. So why do you need masks? I don't get none of this makes sense. None of it.
No.
And when I ask a logical question, you're called just like when you asked a logical question about Russiagate, you're called a Putin puppet, which is what I was called. I was called by that at the Oslo Peace Forum.
That's where my Twitter screen name comes from, Jimmy Dore.
Oh, really?
Comrade Misty is Putin's buddy.
I love how he said it. You are Putin's body.
It cracks me up.
And
that's great.
And now if you have the temerity to ask a logical question about the government's policy on COVID or anything to do with it, you're considered an anti-vaxxer immediately.
Mm-hmm. And you're vaccinated. Jesse's vaccinated. I'm glad you're here because you and Jesse have similar stories. Because when this whole thing, because I wanted to ask you.
You hear that?
What?
When you're talking, it's really, there's like a making a bad noise. Yeah, when you talk.
Weird.
Yeah, it's horrible. Should we start another stream?
I don't know. Hold on. I'll unplug stuff and see if that helps.
It all of a sudden just started. Jesse, you talk.
Yeah, so I did.
Jesse. Yeah. So when you guys talk, it just goes.
I don't hear it. That's weird.
Here, I'll record it with my phone.
I don't know why it would be doing that.
I can hear it.
Here, let me record it.
Sorry, guys, we're doing it live.
Okay, now you guys talk. Go ahead.
Hello.
It's doing it a lot less, but it's still doing it a little.
Weird.
Oh, yeah. It's like it goes.
That's so weird.
I hear that.
Yeah. Do you hear it?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So long as you could hear it.
No, maybe we. Yeah, Vegan said it just started. Oh, I can hear it. Yeah, like a little click.
Yes.
Weird.
Yeah, I wonder if it's going to be on the recording. I wonder if people can hear. Is this live somewhere?
Yeah, it's live. They said it just started. They can hear it, but it just started. They said.
Yeah, it just started now.
Somebody said it sounds like a network issue. I don't know what that means.
It's horrible.
I don't know. Should we bounce out and bounce back in? Maybe. I don't know. I'm terrible at tech stuff, you guys.
Yeah, let's try. You know what? Yeah, let's try.
Okay.
Let's go ahead.
Okay. Hi, guys. Can you hear me? Hello, hello. Fams, can you hear me in the chat? Anybody? Bueller? Warren? Okay.
Okay, how's that?
Any better?
Yeah.
No
But
worries.
I hate to be a pain, but I do have to leave in about 10 minutes. Is
Okay,
that
that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I forget what I was gonna ask you now. Shit. Oh, I know. Because obviously you got vaccinated.
Yeah.
What was it for you? Because for me, I was always super skeptical of it. I think one of the first big red flags was, I forget which NFL team was, and I tell this story all the time, but they played like a whole ass game, like 3 hours of full contact sport, and that was fine. But then they were in the locker room celebrating without masks, and they got a fine for that. And I was like, this is dumb. Like, this is so stupid. And it's like all of the weird, incredibly arbitrary restrictions, like everything has to close at 10 because everybody knows COVID's a party animal and doesn't come out until 10, right? You know, it's like super dangerous. So what, like, I'm just curious for everybody, because I know everybody's kind of on their own journey. Like Max Blumenthal, I was like, there's always people who I really like when something like this happens. I'm like waiting, like, please don't fuck this up, don't get it wrong. And so and Max was a little iffy at first, and I'm like, oh, come on. He came around. That was really exciting. What was it for you that made you, was it because you had like a bad reaction to the injections? Is that what?
Yeah.
That noise is back.
It is back. Motherfuckers.
Yeah. So, yeah. But yes,
Yeah.
but is it there when I talk too? If I talk, I don't think it's there, but just when you both talk. Okay, so I'll tell you my answer and then we'll wrap.
We'll wrap, yeah.
Okay, so my answer is yes. I knew I was going to get the vaccine because I was told that then I wouldn't get COVID, and I was afraid if I got COVID, I would die. And I have underlying condition, and so I got the vaccine, and I was told I would get it. I would, and then I got sick from the vaccine, so I got really sick. Like I remember it was the 5th week after my second jab. I was still just exhausted all day, and I would have joint pain and this horrible wicked stiff neck, which I still get till to this day. I had headaches and, just all the shit things you get from a flu. I mean, I had it. It's like I had COVID. And so I tweeted about it. I said, hey, I don't know what the fuck's going on, but it's been 5 weeks and I'm messed up. And so this doctor who follows me, he was running he was doing a what do they call it? A trial. And they had 1,000 people in it. And he was trying to come up with a protocol to how to treat long COVID. And he said, I have a theory that people who get injured by the vaccine present as if they have long COVID. And he said, so I'm going to do this. He said, I had to go to a special place to get my blood drawn where they do the special test. And it was sophisticated. And he showed me that I present biologically through these tests exactly how a long haul COVID patient presents biologically, except I never had COVID, but I did get vaccinated. And so his theory was that I present as a long haul COVID from the vaccine. And so he started to give me the same experimental treatment that they were trying in their trials to treat long COVID. And part of it was ivermectin, part of it was prednisone, part of it was fluvoxamine, part of it was I forget the other thing. And and it helped a lot. Not 100%, but it helped a lot. And that's when I found out they were lying about ivermectin. And I'm like, well, why would they be lying so hard about ivermectin? And my doctor to put me in that study, he told me, he goes, Jimmy, that before COVID, they were looking at ivermectin to treat cancer. I mean, it was a wonder drug. They were calling it a wonder drug. And now they're trying to make it seem like it's some kind of poison for farm animals. And that's when I knew that this was bullshit, that fucking Fauci was a criminal, and that this was all a big fucking that there was a lot of scamming going on. And I knew that they were lying. And I had already caught Fauci lying in 2 huge lies. The first lie was about masks. And then when they asked him a couple months later, he goes, I was lying about that. And the second lie was about herd immunity and what percentage of people would have to be vaccinated to get herd immunity. And he said, first he said like 50 to 65%. And then he went, no, it's got to be 70 to 80. Then he went, it's got to be 80 to 90%. And they go, why are you changing this? And he's like, well, I didn't think people would go along with it if I told them the real numbers at first. So now that I see there's people are willing to accept it, I'm willing to tell them the truth. So that's two huge fucking lies. And then the third one was when he lied to Congress about funding gain of function research. He changed the fucking definition of gain of function research so he doesn't have to go to jail. That's what they did in 1984 with George Orwell. They would change the past, right? So whoever controls the present controls the past. Whoever controls the past controls. So, yeah, so that's when I got suspicious. And as soon as I took a look, I found malfeasance, scaremongering, corporate corruption, and lying everywhere I looked. Everywhere I looked. Every time I read an article from the establishment news about COVID, it's full of lies. By omission or commission. They certainly don't provide context for the shit they're saying. They'll say, oh, the first guy who died from Omicron was in Texas. No, he didn't. That was a lie. And that was reported. Oh, they couldn't wait for a death from Omicron. And they all reported it, and it was fucking a lie. And then they lied about ivermectin. They lied about the things about hospitals. You know why ICUs are backed up? It's because they're for profit. And they don't make money. They, for whatever reason, ICU beds aren't profitable to the private equity firms that staff fucking hospitals and run them. They're just not. And they've been cutting beds. We had 1.5 million beds in 1975. We have a lot more, almost 100 more people in the country now, and we have 925,000 hospital beds. So we run our healthcare about where we put our resources in healthcare where a private company can make profit, not where the need is, right? So we've known we've needed ICU beds for 2 years straight, and they haven't added fucking one, okay? And they ain't gonna. And in 2018, I just found this out. I dropped a video about it, I think, yesterday. There was a flu outbreak, right? Which there is every fucking year. And this one was a little more severe than normal. This is literally 2018. And there are stories about how hospitals across the country are treating flu patients in tents because there's no hospital beds. So that was just 2018. So that was one flu season away from what the fuck just happened with COVID. And now they're like, there's no bed. Yeah, there was no beds when there was just regular flu either. So quit fucking making. And then they're like, now Howard Stern is saying, hey, you shouldn't, the unvaxxed shouldn't be allowed in the hospital. What about smokers? Should they be allowed to have ICU bed? What about people who have diabetes and they still eat fucking sugar? Should they be allowed? What about alcoholics? Should they be allowed? What about people who are rock climbers or people who drive recklessly? What about, so now is that the list? Now we're going to start fucking doing that? That like, so like we're Dracula? No, we're not. So anyway, so that's my answer. And shame on all the YouTubers. Hey, it's one thing if you're too big of a fucking coward to stick your chin out and tell the truth about the lies from the government and the corporate media about COVID and the vaccines. You know, that's sad. That's sad. But extra shame on you if you then try to fucking smear the people who do have the courage to do that and risk my own fucking channel to tell the truth about it because you're being fucking lied to. And fuck those people. That's what I say. Okay.
Yes, I agree. 100%. I agree. Okay. So I know you have to go. I know you have some shows coming up though. Do you want to plug those? I know a couple of them are sold out though. So
yeah, no, Charlie Goodnight. We're in Raleigh on the 26th of January and we added a second show. So there's more tickets available there. And then we'll be in Philadelphia on February 20th. And they're real freaking vaccine Nazis. It's a blue state. So yeah, whenever I live in a blue state, they're all it's ridiculous. The same people who think it's a violation to have to show an ID to vote have no problem. I have to show an ID to have a fucking burrito. Yeah, it's just you guys are. How about a little consistency? How about a little consistency?
A little would be nice. Yes, I'm in Ohio. We don't have any mandates, and
my body, my choice, unless Coroni's around.
Right.
The vaccine does not stop transmission. It doesn't stop you from getting it. It never did. They always knew that, and they lied to you, and they lied to me. Because if I'd have known I was going to fucking get it anyway, and you're going to have to get a booster now it's just a goddamn like you have to do with the flu. You have to get fucking shots all the time. So it took for the 4th shot for my colleagues on YouTube to get suspicious of big pharma's narrative about this.
Yeah.
Really? You're not suspicious of, let me tell you how much big pharma is making off this. Pfizer alone, not Moderna, not AstraZeneca, just Pfizer alone is going to make $36 billion in last year. Last year, they made $36 billion off the vaccine. You know how much the entire recording music industry in the United States makes? $12 billion.
Wow.
So they made 3 times what the fucking and that's everybody from Liberace to
Justin Bieber.
Yeah, yes.
It gets worse.
And everybody in between. That's how much they generate, $12 billion. That one company is making 3 times what the entire, think about that. How much power that gives them. Why you think ivermectin is a poison. That's because of that kind of power. They have every politician bought, and they have every news media bought. You know, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said that he happened to be, through a happenstance of life, he was good friends with Roger Ailes. And Roger Ailes said, I would like to have you come on my show, but I can't because 70% of our budget comes from big pharma. And so, so I'm glad to see it only took to the 4th booster for my colleagues on YouTube to get a little suspicious of the big pharma fucking narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it gets worse. Moderna is rolling out a combination flu coronavirus injection
they're going to combine them now.
Yeah.
Good times. Lots of fun. Ridiculous. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for coming on.
Get your vitamin D3 up, get your zinc up, get your vitamin K2, your vitamin C. There's monoclonal treatments, which they never talk about. There's fluvoxamine. There's lots of stuff to treat this. You don't have to keep getting jabbed for the rest of your fucking life.
Yes. Thank you for that. Yeah. And thanks for coming on.
Right now, Omicron presents as a cold.
Yes.
That's how it presents.
Sniffles.
So exactly what Robert Malone, who's now being censored, said on my show in July. He said that if it allowed that's another big lie about, if the unvaccinated catch it, then we get a more virulent strain. No, we don't. What happens is what Dr. Malone said is that you give the vaccines to the people who are vulnerable, the elderly, people with comorbidities, the obese. You certainly don't give it to healthy fucking children.
No.
Fucking psychos. And he said, and then you let it circulate in the healthy, and then it will mutate to become more contagious and less deadly. And that is exactly what Omicron is. It's very contagious, just like the fucking cold is, but it's not deadly. And so that's what you want.
Yeah.
And so now everybody's still pretending like it's really deadly when it's a cold. And now they're shutting schools down, and the CDC says cancel football, and people are starting to not pay attention. So power to the people.
Yes. And I hope that we see that continue. I mean, we are starting again across the globe. It's been really great. I hope we start seeing that build more in the United States. It's been really kind of depressing to watch people just be super compliant, and just go along to get along. And I realize that you're kind of being coerced into it. Your job depends on it, all that kind of stuff. But we only get one shot to fight back against this kind of shit. So we need to do that. So thanks for coming on. I appreciate you. I appreciate all your work. And as always, every time I see you, I want to tell you that I appreciate the fact that you talk about Julian Assange. That's important to me. So I just want to thank you for doing that. And we have a protest in DC if you're available in April 11th. If you want to come out to DC, we're having a protest there.
Yeah, I'll try to make it into my schedule. Yeah.
That'll be the 3 years since he was kidnapped from the Ecuadorian embassy. So we're going to go try to make some noise at the Department of Justice, and we would love to have you. So thanks for coming on. Thanks everybody for hanging out in the chat with us. We appreciate you as well. And we will.
Is this live on YouTube?
Yes.
I don't know if I was allowed to say this shit I was saying.
We don't care.
We don't care.
We don't care, Jimmy. We don't care. We talk about this shit all the time.
I didn't know where this was. I thought maybe we're on Rockfin or something.
No, we're on Rockfin too, but we don't. Honestly, we don't care. If our channel gets yanked, it gets yanked. We're going to tell the truth for as long as we can. So do what we can. But thanks for coming on. We appreciate you, and the fact that you're willing to stick your neck out and say all the things that you're saying, because I know you take a lot of shit for it. So and we'll see everybody soon. Thanks everybody. We appreciate you. See you soon.
Peace.